Wired Unplugged.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wired Unplugged, episode 51. If you're listening to this live, direct, contemporary, you'll know that we put this live about 2 p.m. Normally, Aaron, we record it around 5 or 6 o'clock at night, but we're recording this, bright and early today, aren't we? So we're sort of
coffee.
Well, yeah, exactly. I was going to say we're pre-caffeine, but we're mid-caffeine. So if we sound huskier and cooler than usual, it's not because we've been talking to Doug Cockle.
Welcome
because...
to Wired Unplugged.
Yeah, the morning show, Smooth FM. Yeah. All right. Well, first of all, mate, how are you doing? You all right? Yeah.
I'm good. It's been busy. It's getting busy now.
Yeah.
I say it's getting busy now. It's been busy since the start of the year.
Yeah, there was like that 1 week. Yeah, where
it's getting busy in an exciting way where you can start to talk about things, which is
exactly. There's been quite a lot of that. I think in the Unplugged of 2023, there's been a lot of. We'll find out in just a few weeks, and every week there's been one. It's been like a catchphrase.
Yeah,
couldn't think of a cooler reference. Sorry,
on a t-shirt, it'd be grand.
Yeah. Right. So, listen, we want to start by saying, everyone listening, if you'd like to help shape the show going forward, you can. We ask you a couple of questions throughout the show. Like, we've been thrilled to find out there's been some decent answers to a question we asked a few weeks ago, which will be coming up a little bit later. But if you would like to get involved, if there's anything that we're saying that you're like, no, or yes, you can email unplugged@wiredproductions.com with your love letters, not hate mail, really. You could
Churchill dogs out there, just be like,
yes. Or you could tweet us at WiredP for Productions, or I was trying to think of something related to that dog, but I couldn't.
Pug.
And yeah, hell yeah.
Wired Productions.
Wired Unplugged. Wired Unplugged. Yeah, very good. So, what have you been up to this weekend? What have you been playing? How's your New Year's resolution going? Which can you just, before we begin, just remind the folks at home what your resolution is, so we can hold you accountable.
A recap of my New Year's resolution
previously,
as far as gaming is.
Previously on Unplugged.
Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, yes. So previously on Wired Unplugged. No, so my gaming New Year's resolution was to play what I feel like I'm in the mood for playing, as opposed to tackling games like they are a task and always just trying to play the newest thing that's come out. Respect my backlog and actually just play what I feel, what I'm in the mood for. So I've been sticking to that, and so much so that I've done incredible things to play what I felt in the moment. I mean, for example, when we were talking before this, I broke into Square Enix.
You did. Some Aaron's Twitter, if you want to go and investigate.
Because I was like, you know what? I feel like playing some theatre-driven Final Bar Line. So I broke into Square Enix, where the producer and director were, and just squirreled myself away in the room and played the game. Yeah, which is amazing, by the way.
And that's a brand new game. That's why you wanted to go there, right? Because you can't play it at home yet. Because it hadn't come out at the time. I think it's out now, right? Or...
I think by the time this goes out, it is out. Yeah. So I've been playing some Final Bar Line. I've been playing some Forspoken as well. Also Square Enix, funnily enough. Yeah. Coincidental, of course.
Happens to be one of the bigger games of the year so far, right?
I've got some interesting feelings about it. I am gonna see it through, but again, only when I feel like I can contribute to it. From my understanding, it's about 15 hours through, which is a conflicting point of confusion for me, because it's kind of put out there as this big open-ended adventure with lots of cool magic, and the game does have lots of cool magic. My biggest gripe with it so far has been like I spent an hour and a half playing through the opening, I guess. And because of the way it is structured, it doesn't really let you play the game in that hour and a half. So but anyway, outside of that, I've also been playing Fire Emblem, which is awesome.
That's
and I'm making my way
Engage, I suppose, from also
Engage.
Yeah.
Which just a little tip, and I mean this with no disrespect to the voice actors, I'm having a much better time with the game from a tonal point of view now that I've changed the language to Japanese.
Yeah, I did that, by the way. Yeah.
I just feel it just feels like a more
cohesive
better,
experience.
less,
I know what you mean.
Yeah. And then the thing that I've gotten my teeth most into, which is surprising, is the Minish Cap.
Oh wow!
Which
yeah,
I'm playing.
Legend of Zelda game for anyone unaware.
Yeah, which I'm playing on the GBA online thing.
Yeah, so that was
on Switch.
Nintendo Direct recently announced. Well, Nintendo recently did a Direct. I think it was last week, maybe the week before. But yeah, they announced that the Game Boy Color, Game Boy, and Game Boy Advance collection would be coming to Nintendo Switch Online, and we spoke about it. And yeah, so here we are, just a week later or so, and you've been checking it out, yeah?
Yeah, it's sacrilegious to say. Well, not so much because I'm kind of happy about it. It is the first time I am playing the Minish Cap ever.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
It's great.
It's
amazing,
good.
And I'm surprised at how good it looks blown up on a TV as well. It's charming. It's wonderful. It's great.
That's it. I'm really glad that people are talking about it like that because, like I said, like when we spoke about it the first time, I don't know anybody else who had one of these, but I had the Game Boy Advance sort of add-on for the GameCube. So all of the games that I played on the Game Boy Advance were blown up on a TV. Obviously, TVs back then were a lot smaller than they are now. But
was that The Godfather?
Still, it was ancient. It was Mortal Coil. Realizing that TVs were just like tiny little square aspect ratio things still back then, weren't they? I don't even know. I don't think my TV was widescreen or anything. Yeah, it was still like Twin Peaks or whatever. So anyway, and yeah, I always think they look good. And then I was thinking about this. I was having a conversation about it when we saw the Direct because a lot of these new games like Sea of Stars that we saw, Advance Wars, obviously, they've kind of got that Game Boy Advance on steroids type graphics. Like, it's weird, and it must be so strange for the more seasoned veterans among us listening or watching. You can watch this podcast. There is an entire YouTube accompaniment. You can just go and find us. Just type in Wired Unplugged on YouTube. Thanks. For people who have watched everything secular, like fashion is a cycle, watching things go retro, 8-bit, 16-bit, and now we're getting to like Game Boy Advance era. We know that the next thing is going to be like the PlayStation 1 kind of graphics, low poly and everything. But I'm enjoying this era. I'm enjoying reliving the Game Boy Advance era, and I'm glad that you are like quite literally with Minish Cap. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's what you've been up to. I've been playing, according to the internet and studies at MIT, the most complex game on planet Earth. It's really true.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really true. Magic the Gathering, by the way. I didn't realize that it was the most complex game on planet Earth because
How so?
I suppose it's simply down
to
all
the different
combinations. Like in chess, I think I'm paraphrasing, but I'm fairly sure it's something like after the first players made their first move in chess, there's like 3 million combinations. After they've made their second move, there's 64 billion combinations. So the potential combinations, for the next game. So it's like that with Magic. Imagine that where every card has its own rules and stuff. But listen, you say that, but everyone uses the same 5 or 6 decks. I'm playing ranked. I'm playing standard. So I'm playing like the competitive meta Magic the Gathering. People are using like the same 10 cards. So it's so funny to see everyone. Yeah, I just saw that in a video and I thought I'll bring that up. I'll let the Unplugged lot know that this is the most complex game ever. Doesn't So listen, here's my issue with Magic the Gathering at the moment. I'm just gonna have a quick little moment about it. I love playing it competitive. I like playing it on Magic the Gathering Arena, and I like that. I know a lot of people that play Magic the Gathering. Not a single person plays the same format that I do. They're like, oh, you play standard. The competitive
standard, Jake.
No, we don't. We play Commander. So suddenly it's like, oh right, I need the Commander deck if I want to play games with my friends. And there's a lot of people when I go to Insomnia or WASD in just a few months' time, these events, people want to play Magic with me, but I don't have a compatible deck. So here I am now on Google Documents, making a little list to myself of cards I need to buy on eBay. But stick to video games, guys. It's well easier. No, I've been playing. I also played Chained Echoes, which is a nice sort of throwback to the Final Fantasy VI kind of JRPG.
I've heard about that.
Oh,
it's meant to be really cool, really
good. Like the reviews are like, I think it's like high 90s on Metacritic. It's on Game Pass for anyone that wants to just check it out for free. Well, if they've got Game Pass. But it's fairly priced, like 20 quid or something on Steam. And I picked it up solely because of the reviews. And like the Forspoken intro, it has this really pesky, but I guess kind of cool thing. And also like Game of Thrones, which we made a little with the little tribute to the theme tune to a minute ago. It does this thing where like it's a world ravaged by war, and then you play a character in one realm. The story's about to go somewhere, and then you start playing as another character, and you do that with about 8 characters, and eventually you all meet, and then I'm just at the point now after this big, long, annoyingly like complex tutorial about war, and literally trying to write down, okay, this country or region is at war with this one, blah blah blah. We're now all setting off on the big quest. The Fellowship's finally got together. Yeah. And now we're going, right? So we're sort of post-driven Dell in our little thing. So now I feel like the real game's begun. And do you know what I did? Listen, this is so funny. Got to that point and I thought, now I'm going to turn it off. Because that means that my next gaming session with it is like, I can finally begin. I know all the characters and like, I'm actually excited to get back on it. I've been doing that and a bit of Destiny too. There we are. Decent, isn't it?
Strong.
Yeah.
So that was Chained Echoes.
Chained Echoes,
which sounds a lot like Octopath in a way.
It is, and so I think the story with this is it's a Kickstarter, and it's been in the works for about 4 or 5 years. So I was thinking, did this take this from? But yes, it's very similar. It has so many, and it's really inspired by Final Fantasy VI. If anyone's played Final Fantasy VI, which if you're a cool online person, might be the best one. I don't really agree, but they reckon now that's like it basically like in a sort of conversation, one of the Final Fantasies is always the coolest one. It was 7 about 20 years ago, and now everyone's like, that's normie stuff. That it's got a remake. It's 6 actually. That's what they reckon now.
Well, so, listen, I mentioned that I broke into Square Enix.
Yeah,
right. I was in a room full of people who happen to be Final Fantasy fans. And that conversation comes up like, oh, what's your favorite Final Fantasy game?
Yeah.
And I just casually, without shame, just dropped the bombshell of Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah. Gunblade at the ready.
I got handshakes. I got pats on the shoulder, and it was like, but it wasn't like
that. Sounds like you've just come clean 3 months off like alcohol.
Yeah.
Aaron,
exactly.
Thank you for admitting that. That's the first step of recovery.
It was like, you know what you've just said, right? It was like, I do.
That wasn't a part of it. That was a wellness check. They were like, "Are you okay?"
It's like, you're right.
8 is severely underrated. I'm on your side for this one. I don't think it's the best one, but it's definitely very good.
It's good. It's very good.
Yeah. They probably all think 14 anyway. Right. Okay. Let's get into the propaganda of the week. We've got loads of stuff on the way, and a nice, exciting call to action for everybody listening or watching at home. Roll that jingle, baby.
Wired Propaganda.
Well, here we are, the propaganda segment of the podcast. After quite a nice little intro there, so we've got.
It was cozy. It was cushy.
Yeah,
it was. A nice cushion of preamble.
This could be the sort of veil of lethargy because we've just woken up or whatever. It's a morning one.
Yeah.
We're chilling. Hopefully you're chilling too. Well, this week we might be able to blast off the cobwebs with a decent amount of news, to be honest. So what have you got for us this week?
We just decided to have some toast before we dove into the cereal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Continental breakfast, baby.
Yeah. Croissant, some jam.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
Literally about 1 second before this, my girlfriend walked past with a croissant, and I was like, no. I can smell it. And all right. Okay.
The crumbs slowly drifting.
Yeah. Little pastry snowflakes. So what's happening?
No, seriously, we've got issues. We've got issues this morning with our, with it being the morning. Lots going on, Jake. Yeah. Lots going on. Let me tell you.
Go on.
So just at the end of last week, we had Guildford Game Fest.
Yeah.
Which is a really cool event held in Guildford, believe it or not.
Yeah. Home of some of the greatest minds in the UK game development.
Yeah, really good gaming scene. Super massive games were there. You had the folks who were doing Need for Speed, Criterion, right?
Yeah, Criterion. Yeah.
Lots of
Games are stationed
really cool
there.
people.
No Man's Sky developers.
Hello Games.
Lionhead were formed there. There's like so many incredible.
Which thanks for mentioning Lionhead, because that's a very good segue. Because also we had the folks from Rogue Sun, so ex-Lionhead developers who are working on Tin Hearts. Right, there at the show. They had a nice talk at the show as well. really good show. Lots of people got to go hands on, and it's always interesting watching people play the game, but more interesting watching the people that are lurking, like just being like, I'm not going to play this right now, but I'm very interested in what's going on at the screen, because the game, like, visually just sings. Like,
yeah, that's what it
out of a
is.
lot of games there, it was just going, hello, come over.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, if you weren't at Guildford Game Fest, you are going to have an opportunity to play the game this weekend. If you'll listen to this, the day it goes live, so Friday the 17th. There is a beta going live on Utomik. We spoke about Utomik, the gaming platform, before. So you can jump into the beta from the 17th, today if you're listening on day of launch, through to the 19th of February. And if you missed this, or if you want to check it out before you get your hands on it, there should be a live stream available on Wired's Twitch right now, where Steph is taking it for a spin on the Utomik platform as well, so you can see the game in action.
Yeah, they are, and you can have a look at the platform as well, because I think Utomik, like we mentioned last time, was like a little bit, you know, it's a bit of a cult classic, isn't it? Like, it's compared to something like Stadia, which everybody, you know, like that was getting written about by like Bloomberg and stuff. But Utomik has been there the whole time.
Yeah, and you had a very good question, which we haven't been able to get clarification on. Is Utomik the longest served?
Yeah. I had one more Google and then gave up, to be honest. But there's nothing to prove me wrong. But that's a dangerous way to think, I suppose, on the internet.
It's a good hypothesis.
It certainly is a good hypothesis. And for those that missed what we're referring to from a previous episode, you know, On Live, I think, was one of the first sort of streaming services. Microsoft's xCloud is arguably one of the more talked about one. There's Nvidia GeForce Now. I think EU was just a crap console, wasn't it? Did that have any streaming thing? Sorry, EU fans.
Yeah. I think.
Oh, actually, that was one of the ones that they announced. That was one of the big sales pitch moments. Wasn't it?
And I think everyone just used it as an emulator.
Yeah. Right, it was basically a Raspberry Pi.
Raspberry Pi.
But we hypothesized. Certainly, I was thinking that Utomik might be the longest running video game live streaming, the Netflix of games, as everyone likes to say, program, and it's still going strong here. Look at that, with fresh Tin Hearts content, February 17th to the 19th.
Yeah, you got Phil Spencer over at Xbox Towers with the Game Pass team going, oh my god. My God, Utomik is still there.
We must destroy. No, I'm sure he's not like, yeah. Phil's a really cool guy normally. He's always Phil like, let's be friends. Everyone be friends.
He once gave me a badge.
Oh.
On a rooftop bar. It was like, it was at E3. It was at an E3, I think, and it was on some rooftop bar party thing. And he was just like, "Oh, you enjoyed the show? Yeah, enjoyed it. Here's a badge." It's like, thanks.
Like, cool. And it says, "I met Phil Spencer."
Yeah.
He gives them to everyone, right?
Yeah, lovely guy.
Yeah.
We've got more stuff. We've got more stuff. We've got so much more stuff. So outside of the beta, you are going to see, and some of this has already started to go live as we start to move into launch window, as we get it in our sights. Sorry, I was slightly distracted because there is just a random man climbing a very tall tree outside. But
Link.
that aside, hi.
Yeah.
Just wave hi. But no. So lots of Last Worker. The Last Worker content is going to start to go live. Some people very lucky recently to get early hands-on. Some people got to go and spend time with York. Lucky people. A man filled with very interesting insight across the entertainment industry as a whole.
Yeah.
And obviously he's making games and entertainment and movies and film program and stuff.
That's what we've learned.
Yeah, I was just like every other word except content. I was like, what am I going to think of? No, but there's some great interviews going live, some great impression pieces for The Last Work going live. There's a really good interview that you should read that will give you some insight into some of the thinking philosophically behind The Last Worker as well, in an interview that went live with PC Gamer this week. Unfortunately, because of the passion contained within, I can't read any quote. I can't read any quotes
Sounds about right,
from the article, but I promise you, check it out. It's amazing. I
Too
came
hot
away.
for TV.
It is too hot for TV, but it's also one of those things that you're reading, be like, yeah, you're okay. Yeah, I understand. Or some people may be like, I don't understand, I don't agree, which is also fine as well. Debates and opinion are fine.
Yeah,
they're fine to have. They're fine to have, Jake.
Yeah, Jörg's a very interesting guy who certainly doesn't like to sit on the fence about anything he believes in. So it's well worth an interview if you want to see some strong opinions. But yeah, so shouts out. Last Workers really on the way.
Yeah, and more to come. More to come as well. So something that has been going on this week. So earlier this week, it was yesterday as of recording, but there was we held a very, very swanky, fancy, cool, intimate event for Tin Hearts at a venue called the Clock Tower in London.
Yeah, I know this place. Yeah,
a beautiful venue. Yeah. So the Rogue Sun team were there talking to press, showing off the game, doing interviews and all that. So that stuff is going to start to land coming soon as well over the next couple of weeks. So keep your eyes tuned. Keep your eyes tuned. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, keep your eyes focused like a magic eye puzzle.
Keep your eyes fixed. No, because that stuff is going to start to drop, and I think Costas, Chris, and the rest of the team at Rogueson are absolutely brilliant. It was nice that I got to see them at Guildford Game Fest to catch up with them, because they develop their games in a very interesting way. The game's called Tin Hearts, right? But there is a lot of heart and personality and love from them in the game. And I think when you start to see some of these interviews and stuff come out, you'll get a greater sense of how this game has been built and why. And we spoke about this game quite a lot, right? Dickensian Lemmings, but it also has a surprising tug at the heartstrings.
There seems to be a lot of emotion wrapped around it and stuff like that, right? That's the thing, isn't it? So
yeah. So look forward to all that coming soon. And speaking of which, we really should have Costas come back on. It'd be good to have him back on, talk some Tin Hearts.
I think especially when we get closer to the time, so we can ask him questions, because we've been delivering a lot of information and going more on that soon. Well, Costas, so I'd like him to come in and answer. I sound like Jeremy Paxman here. He's got to answer some hard questions. No, but I honestly, I mentioned this before, and I feel it's quite a disgusting thing to have a favorite child, but I'm very excited about Tin Hearts. I love the look of it. I'm really, really interested in it, specifically because I get the vibe that they're going for, and there's something really nice about it. I don't want to say Christmassy, but I like the idea of those.
I get you.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's like the festive childhood joy, and you think that the story is about the greatest toy maker in the world. He's been approached by industry, by the man, to say, hey, you're really good at this, but we want you to mass produce stuff without your personal love and attention on it, and we'll give you lots of money. Do you want to do that? Which is kind of a reflection of indie developers' relationship with publishers in a way, which is an interesting juxtaposition in terms of how this game has come to be and fallen into our hands, and what really is the truth behind how Rogue Sun feel about working with a publisher. But in fact, they actually do love working with a publisher.
I was going to say,
wonderful people.
Get him on the podcast and we'll find out. It's like Jeremy has went to an executioner now. We'll get it out of him. Interrogations.
Yeah. Tell me, friend.
Yeah. Get all messed up.
I turned into a terms and conditions ad person on a American medical ad. You may die.
That is, if anyone listening from America, I just want to let you guys know that your sort of ad for pharmaceuticals are so bewildering for anyone not in America.
Fear-inducing.
I remember seeing that an advert about constipation tablets, and it was a woman smiling at a barbecue. The ad was about 45 seconds. I think 13 seconds was about the ad, and then about 20 seconds was reading out all of the side effects that might happen. And one of them was a heart attack, and I was like, it's constipation medication. It's terrifying. Anyway, you might even know that advert. If you know what advert I'm on about, you'll know that it's not hyperbole there. It's like this incredibly long-winded, with the constipation joke there. Barbecue advert. I don't know. Maybe I just find the clip and put it on the socials. I'll see what I can do. All right, leave it to me. Right, what else have we got going on this week?
Something short and sweet, I promise. So, recently you would have seen that Deliver Us Mars released via our friends at Keoken. Via our other friends at Frontier. Which is the sequel slash follow on to Deliver Us the Moon.
That's right.
Which we worked on with Keoken. Game is amazing, but whilst the team have been working on Deliver Us Mars, they've also been working on some improvements for the Xbox Series version of Deliver Us the Moon. So by the time you listen to this, there is an update live for Xbox Series consoles, which bring together improvements, optimization, stability, and just gameplay improvements. So get that downloaded, get it updated, and take another trip back to the beautiful satellite in the sky.
You know, it's one of the most underrated things, overlooked, should I say, when games get optimization updates. Like, you know, I played Bloodborne over Christmas, and I was like, wow, this really is a PlayStation 4 game. Because so many, like I just mentioned, I played Destiny, and I've been playing No Man's Sky as well. And then, you know, at the time, it was like, oh, we're going to make a PS5 version of Destiny. And I was kind of reading the news like, all right. But then when you go back and you go, whoa, it's amazing what they do. So it's great. Yeah, it's really good that there's going to be something like this. Because imagine how many people are going to go back and play this, especially now that they've seen Mars, or maybe they missed Moon the first time, and now they get to check it out. And so if for some reason that's you, you know, you can right your wrongs right now in high fidelity, baby. Great. Shouts out to the Keoken brothers. I remember when them and their hench bodies joined me for a podcast.
Listen, this isn't the Swoon podcast, but aren't they dreamy?
They are very handsome men, yeah. Spacesuit or not, yeah.
No, but like they are handsome. Don't get me wrong. We can't lie about that. But just as people, they are just really, really nice.
Yeah, they're almost like they're like well-written NPCs, like basically, or something like that. Like they'd be tavern owners in some sort of like D&D campaign who like who can just do everything. Two warrior brothers who gave it all up. Oh my god! I'm making fanfic. That's how dreamy they are, guys.
Keoken fanfic.
That's it. Yeah, shouts out Keoken. Yeah. All right. So we got one last bit of information, and it's not even information, is it? It's a sort of call to arms.
It's a call from the trees, from the canopy of the jungle. So as we mentioned before, we're going to be off to PAX. We're going to announce the titles that we're taking very, very soon. But in the build-up to going to PAX, we are looking for volunteers. So people that would like to volunteer to work on the Wired stand at PAX. You'll be fed, you'll be dressed, you'll be looked after, you'll be, patted
on the head,
patted, no, on the shoulder in terms of like a supportive, hey, you had a night out, but we're gonna get through this together.
Hey, you say Final Fantasy is the best.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everyone must experience that. But yeah, if you are interested in joining us at PAX and helping the team rock things in Boston, then you can sign up at wired.gg/wired at PAX.
It's worth it just for the cannoli, if you ask me.
The cannoli, yeah.
It really is. And it's such a great show to be. And I'll say this, last year, unbiased, of course, but last year, the Wired, the hub was the place to be. It was such a nice atmosphere. There was so many people like congregating and sort of just, being there. So if that's the sort of thing that you buzz off, it's just like the environment or whatever, the atmosphere, then there really is an atmosphere there. It's not like some cold careers fair booth. It was nice. Like it was very, very.
It was nice. It was nice. We shared the contents of our well-stocked fridge with passers-by. People would use us as a hub base. Yeah, they'd come by every day, then go off, and then come back.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have an apple.
Yeah, exactly. We don't really want to go into it. We're above it now. We don't really want to talk about how amazing and popular the stickers were, because
the stickers.
Too much power. Too much power for PAX, that was. But
Popo shut us down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so free the stickers, isn't it? Well, listen, there's a lot of propaganda this week, as usual. A lot of Tin Hearts news there as well, to be honest. Very Tin Hearts heavy, or Tin Hearts forward. But that's for good reason, isn't it? So thank you very much for the propaganda. There's been a lot going on in the wider world of gaming this week too. Before we get into that, though, I'm going to use a jingleless segue to remind everybody that we have a section of the podcast where we like to ask or answer questions that have been asked by you, the folks at home. You can tweet us at Wired Unplugged or Wired P, or you can email us at unplugged@wiredproductions.com. Most of you, to be honest, are using Twitter. So we were posed a question a few weeks ago about The Last of Us. We were asked, sort of what basically...
What gaming movies we'd like to see.
Yeah, which adaptation either way round would we like to see, right? And we asked, hey, which Wired game would people like to see and why, right? And we got some responses of people. So would you like to kick us off with the first two?
Yeah. So, we put out the question back out to the wider masses on, which Wired Productions game would you like to see as a movie or series and why?
Yeah.
And I'll take the first one. So there was a really interesting one from @Franalicious on Twitter. And on Twitter, there was a message from on Twitter that was. So they have said Close to the Sun or Martha is Dead. Now, before we move on as well, Martha is Dead got a lot of a lot of love within this.
Did you?
I was looking. I was looking through all the responses, and it's like, Martha is Dead. How about this for Martha is Dead? How about a limited time only HBO series for Martha is Dead? How about a movie on Disney Plus for Martha is Dead?
Yeah.
What about a kids show on Disney Plus for Martha is Dead? Yeah, got it all.
Martha's just sleeping
musical
in that
for Martha
version.
is Dead.
Yeah. Martha is Dead musical. Yeah. Just,
oh my god.
Just dirges, organ dirges for the entire.
Sad. It's beautiful, by the way. Do check it out. It's beautiful. Emotionally driven. So Close to the Sun or Martha is Dead. I think Close to the Sun would make a very interesting TV show. Probably similar to along the lines of Doctor Who. Not in terms of, hey, we're traveling through time, but in terms of, Doctor Who always had that educational slant to it originally when it kicked off. Similar to Pokemon, right? Where it was like, oh, water conducts electricity and all that jazz. But, I think given that it had like an alternate world Tesla focus and, it took a lot of Tesla's inventions and brought them to life, ones that didn't get made, ones that they didn't believe were Tesla inventions, then turned out to be Tesla inventions. There's a lot of educational, fun, episodic things that I think you could do with a Close to the Sun TV series.
I think it's quite common knowledge now about Nikola Tesla. I think he's kind of in our sort of general minds. Like, we know who he is. People who haven't heard of him will immediately get told, "Oh, did you know he's actually the guy who invented electricity or whatever?" Yeah. But I don't think there's actually like any sort of proper like TV show about Tesla specifically, or like there's the Tesla Files, which is about the CIA or something, but there's not like anything focused on him. So that would work very well, I reckon. Yeah. There we go.
I think so.
Look at me, that's giving my genuine advice here. Like, it's because I've been inspired by our next answer, which is Ian Culverhouse, who also says Martha is Dead. And he says Martha is Dead would make a great movie or miniseries. Release it for Halloween, and I'm sure it'll bring in the money. There we go. A bit of financial advice there from Ian Culverhouse too. There we go. So, Martha is Dead has got a very nice story to it, and I think a lot of horror films are very focused on sort of the cattle prod. Here's a jump scare. And so I think that's what makes a good horror film great. I think a decent story. I always think a good horror film could be good if it wasn't scary. Like if you took away all the scare, would it still be good? I think Martha's Dead can stand on its own 2 feet. Martha's Dead has some similarities to some horror films I've seen before in the past, but I can't say what they are because I don't want to ruin anything for anyone. But I'll say this: I think that it would definitely make a small mini series like work so well. Wouldn't it? Imagine where it's set is like really unique. I think that I'm trying to think of a TV show set somewhere like that.
I almost feel like it needs to be made by a combination of Chris Nolan and M. Night Shyamalan. In terms of, the films that they have that you can watch through several times. And the first time through, you're like, what? And then, you get to a twist or two and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And then when you watch them back again for a third, fourth, or fifth time, you're like, oh my God, look at all this stuff that has been dripped throughout this. I know, I understand. Like, wow.
I love it when that happens. I've been watching Mr. Robot, which is a series widely considered one of the best to ever do it. It has a bit of a lull in season 2. I'm currently on season 2. I had to wait week after week to watch it back in the day, but now I'm binging through it, and that's got twist and twist and twist and twist all the way through the show, all the way up until like the sort of final episodes.
Yeah.
And it's when I'm watching it, I'm like watching it with my partner who's never seen it, and I'm like, oh, is that too obvious? Nope. Okay, fine. And I love it when you're watching it and it's all making sense. Oh. Yeah. So there we go. So Mark 2 from Mark Dev, Close to the Sun got a good mention. And we got a final one from. Well, would you like to take it away?
Yeah. So we've got a final one from Martin Poles, also on Twitter. And they say a Falconeer series would be the best, a Witcher-like series with side stories and lots of action. And I think the Falconeer would be incredible.
Yeah.
I think the Falconeer would be really great. And I think we spoke about this before, and I think we spoke about it with Thomas directly as well through different things. But I think one of the things we spoke about before was how interesting it would be to be a witness to what happens within the world of the Falconeer. So, you have all these islands and different cultures and stuff that, what are they experiencing from the ground up? What does this conflict look like from these different perspectives? And I think that's a very good way to do it, rather than saying, hey, this TV series is all about you as a Falconeer. It should be how that conflict affects everything else. There's lots of really cool things that you can do there. And I actually think, speaking of Magic the Gathering, I think the Falconeer would make a very good very good Magic set. Yeah.
Well, I know that this has been a great blessing for me to get into Magic the Gathering this year, because they're releasing, and not like sometimes they do like special art versions of original Magic cards, but they're the same cards as normal. So I don't know, Lightning Bolt, but they've got Junji Ito to do it, right? Funnily enough, they did actually get Junji Ito to do like some cards. But a real set, they're releasing like a Lord of the Rings one this year, which is wild, and a Warhammer one, which is also wild. So honestly, stuff
like official,
as in so the card Sting would be an equipment card, and that will be in it. So they actually, so people will actually be playing. It's the 30th anniversary of Magic this year, so that's why they're doing it. But Falcon, something like that, exactly. It makes sense. You need to have a really complex lore to do it, but Falconeer's got the full 360 view. Thomas has obviously got this entire world set up, Middle Earth itself or something like. So yeah, shouts out that the Falconeer works. It could it could be an addition, same that he's got Bulwark, and then the Falconeer. The TV show could be something completely separate, and somehow tie everything together. It could be the bridge between these different things. It'd make sense. I bet he'd love that as well, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But there you are. So. All right, great. So thank you very much, everybody, for answering the questions. See what happens when you do. Beautiful. I'm sure we'll find a question for you before the end to ask, and we'll put it on the socials and let us know, and you can help shape the future of the show. Thank you very much, everybody. Time for a jingle. I'm going to look at the world outside our little snow globe.
Newsweek stuff from Google.
Wow. Google has been given this week. There's been a lot on. There's been some games launching, but there's also a lot of news. It's so big that I sometimes play a little game just for my own amusement of, can I guess what Aaron's going to bring to the table this week? I guess 3 things, none of them are here. And I was like,
really?
Yeah, it really is. Okay. But that's good. I was thinking, so here we go, for anyone that wanted to know what I was thinking. I was thinking Aaron might have mentioned Wanted Dead, which is just some bonkers looking game by the Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive people. that has got like the craziest reviews. Like it's getting like 9s and then it's getting 2 out of 10. So it's like doing a like
That's
deadly premonition.
Marmite in it.
Yeah. And like it's absolutely the whole thing is crazy.
The sweary Suda curse, right? Like sweary and Suda 51.
Deadly premonition vibe. Yeah, exactly. But like even the like this is as a side, I told Aaron so I like to tell everyone at home. The publisher's website uses the quote, "It's an effing train wreck" to describe the game. But that quote was used to describe the completely separate music career of the main voice actress. And they've just
How has that come about, man? That's so bizarre.
But somehow...
do you think that's intentional?
Yeah, like, it's somehow part of the charm, I guess. So I thought you was going to talk about that. I thought you might have brought up... actually, only 2 bits of news this week that I thought that you bring. Okay. The other one was Wild Hearts launched today, which has been a bit of an interesting one because this is for those that don't know, like Pokemon is kind of Pokemon. Yeah, it's a JRPG, but it's Pokemon, right? And anyone that makes another Pokemon-esque game, it's always described as a Pokemon type game. So there's not many games that are like a Monster Hunter type game. So when Wild Hearts is coming out and it's getting good reviews, I was interested. But yeah. Also, so just run through they were sort of the things that I thought you were going to bring up, but we're not bringing up. There you go. But by saying that, we kind of have. Ooh, there you go. Good for SEO, I suppose.
Yeah,
so there we go.
Covering everything off. So, like you mentioned, there's a lot to go through, and I don't think we necessarily have the time to go through everything. But I guess we'll kick off. We'll kick off at the top and see how we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So something interesting and newsworthy, I thought, throughout the pandemic, lockdown, COVID, and all of that. There was issues for all format holders in terms of the availability of chips and tech to build consoles en masse. Time has started to clear that issue away. You would have seen recently that Microsoft whacked Kratos's axe just in the middle of London. And then there was different things happening around the world, and this kicked off a live from PlayStation ad campaign, right? Which is a campaign that is meant to say things are kicking off now. We have more stock. You're gonna have a much easier time finding a PS5 now, so let's introduce you to all these amazing games. There's a really cool ad where it like mixes in Spider-Man, Horizon, like all in real world settings. That's very cool. Yeah,
like in London there was a giant Kratos axe which had smashed into the floor.
It's very cool
and stuff like that. So yeah, I remember seeing this and thinking, wow, they must be gearing up for something massive because they're doing all these real world events. Like there was one of the robots from Horizon Zero Dawn was in I think like Berlin or something, and I was like, whoa, what are they doing? And it's literally just a flex to say, hey, if you want to buy one, you can now.
Yeah, and that appears to have been truth. There appears to be truth to their claims and to the more ease of availability to access the PS5 now. It's been reported that sales are up 200% year on year, which is huge. So it's good to see that Sony are seeing improved, inflated success. I think last week as well, the PS5 had overtaken the Switch in quite a few territories to be the number one selling console as well. Right. So. It's good to see that there is some welly being put behind it, and hopefully, I'm hopeful, I don't know about you, that it does kind of fuel the release of some more interesting first-party games. I feel
that's my big hope. Yeah, I'm a huge PlayStation fan, and I've found myself a little bit sort of disillusioned by what I've seen lately. AKA, like, I'm just hungry. And when I'm hungry, I get grumpy. That's all. And I'm hungry at the moment. And I feel like I can't remember the last really, really good. Because, like, it ends up, this is what happens. I like Returnal. I loved Returnal. I thought I went back
Same.
into it and I was like, oh no, it is good. I didn't love it, but then even now when I'm thinking about how I feel about that game, I think to myself, I loved that. But if I go and play it now, I'm like, actually, no, I don't. I love the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack is one of the best I've ever heard.
I love this at the time because it gave me something to play.
Yeah, that's what I want about. Yeah, desperation. Like so. I'm
like,
looking
the
forward to
SSD loading in action.
Yeah, and I know what everyone's saying. Like, Jake, you got God of War around Christmas, so just shut up and play that. But I just something about it has not brought me back. I'm pressing the little Kratos Axe return button. Come on, Leviathan Axe, get back to me. But with my hopes and dreams and interests, and it's just not happening. I'm
stuck in London. You're in Wales. I think there's like a distance.
I'm really trying. Yeah. Just out of range. But I haven't even returned to God of War. So yeah, I'm hoping it's the sign of the PlayStation 5 2.0, which I guess has been. Right now, probably put on pause whilst they focus on the brand new. It's not even out yet at the time of recording, but it will be, I think, in a week or two. PSVR 2. And I mean, they have been showing off some cool stuff with that. I saw. I don't know if you saw it either, but Resident Evil 8. Some of the features that they've got. There's a map, and you can actually pull out a full-on map and have a look and stuff. So I was quite interested. And I looked, and the PSVR 2 is more expensive than the PlayStation 5 itself. So that kind of dampened the main. It's expensive.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it is an investment, but what it is clear is that the technology within the headset is great, especially the way that it's using the haptic technology that you found in the original PS5 controller as well.
That's it. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it is a step forward for VR as well. We had there was some journalists who got to check out The Last Worker recently on PSVR 2 as well, and wrote very favorably of this is a really good showcase game for what PSVR 2 can do, which is always good to hear. But I think I'm excited for it, but I'm the same as you that. It is a high barrier of entry, but I also recognize that the quality and that is being asked and commanded is justified by how it performs. So
and I agree. I think that's probably the thing that people need to concern themselves with. Like, if you want that VR world to be exactly how you want it to be, not like what it is at the moment, it's probably going to cost even more money. So there we go. Yeah, PlayStation on the uptick, certainly in terms of like you can buy it if you want, and if you do, there are a couple of good games. I made it sound like there isn't. It's just because I've had to wait, month after month. It's been a couple of years now, but like if you got into a PlayStation 5 right now, there's so many of the games that you could check out. Demon Souls remake and the like. So there we go. Great stuff.
Should we move on?
Yeah,
next
absolutely.
one. Yeah, so this is an interesting one. I wanted to put this one in because I have a little interesting story behind it as well.
Yeah, okay.
So Dead Island 2, it has been announced that it's finally gone gold after a long time of being announced. That one E3 long time ago, and that really cool, hilarious...
One of the cooler trailers.
It was a really cool trailer, right?
Yeah.
Which I think the latest Goat Simulator parodied.
It did. It did, which was a really nice deep cut. So for anyone that doesn't know what we're referring to, Dead Island 2, the sequel to 2011's Dead Island, was announced at E3 2014 with a really cool CGI trailer, which features a sort of a jogger.
A jogger, yeah.
It's like a Venice Beach kind of situation. And you have to watch it. Just type in Dead Island 2 trailer. And then, there was a really funny Goat Simulator 3 bait and switch trailer that was used just last year, which looked and started like Dead Island 2, which is a game we knew was coming, and then it was like, psych, we're all goats. So so I mentioned it was announced 9 years ago. So what makes you bring it up right now, Aaron?
What makes me bring it up right now is because 9 years ago, I was at the office of the then publisher ahead of E3, sat in a little private room with some colleagues, and I was being shown in person someone with a controller actually playing Dead Island 2 being played. At that point in time, it looks incredible. There was hilarious moments. The scope of what they were showing was big as well. I don't know how. I don't know exactly what I can say, but I want to bring it up because I saw it being played at an incredible level of detail, showcasing some good scope all the way back then in 2014. 2014?
Yeah, 2014. Yeah, it was 2014. And you're wondering how much of it is intact, or you know?
Yeah, I'm because you know it has had an interesting, an interesting journey and developer story, and you know, things have happened along the way. People have been acquired, yada yada yada. But yeah, I'm wondering of, you know, what remained, what changed. Yeah, it's just incredible because, again, you know, I just remember seeing it all the way back then, just taking notes and all that jazz. And
for those that don't really have much of a mark in time, I mean, obviously the kind of gold standard of using you know, years as a time frame is 2014 is 3 years after the launch of Skyrim. But what you might sort of be interested in knowing is that we're just talking about the PlayStation 5 finally getting into the swing of things, and the fact that quite a lot of people still don't have them. The PlayStation 4 only launched towards the end of November 2013. So the point I'm trying to make is the vast majority of people were still on the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 at that time when Aaron saw Dying Light.
Do you know?
Dead Island 2. And since then, Dying Light has come out. What's that?
Do you know? If that is the case, it may have been the year before when I saw it even.
Yeah.
Because I think the PS4 hadn't. Anyway, ignore me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But that period of time, you are right.
It's honestly like it's interesting. Like I mentioned, the Dying Light series has come out since, which I think has scratched a lot of people's itch for this. And then we had Dying Light 2 very recently. So I'm really interested to see what the appetite for Dead Island 2 is, because the truth of the matter is the same people who were excited for it when it was announced 9 years ago have probably made some quite dramatic changes to their life. Some of them haven't. Some of them might have. Some of them, you know, might not even, you know, might have been sick of zombies by then. There's been a lot of Walking Dead since then, I'll tell you that much. You know, but either way, it's definitely worth noting because it's 9 years later we're going to see it. So hey, that's interesting. All right, cool.
Yeah, so we're low on time. So do you want to?
I'd like to just burn through the next one. I'll burn through it fast. Because I want to mention this.
Yeah,
I like electronic music a lot, and I like experimental electronic music a lot. And there's this incredibly influential duo of electronic musicians called Utomik from Rochdale in Manchester. They signed to Warp Records, Aphex Twins. Warp Records.
Okay. Yeah.
So you know they're like Aphex Twin and like Utomik are like the two big names if you're into like really decent, weird experimental electronic music. And it was a mystery. There's been a long running mystery for a very long time because it's a duo. And they were both featured in the credits of Metroid Prime, and no one ever knew why. And during an AMA about 3 months ago, one of them broke NDA and said, look, we went to Austin, Retro Studios wanted us to work on the soundtrack. We made the whole soundtrack. And last minute, Japan were like, nah. And
okay.
So yeah, I found that really interesting, and I think eventually they released bits of the soundtrack, and I was really interested. And Metroid Prime just got remastered recently, and I remember that bit of trivia, and I was like, I'm looking forward to checking it out. And are they in the credits? I don't remember it from back in the day, so I'm gonna have a look. Well, this is what brings us up to it. So a bit of a tenuous segue there. I want to put a bit of pub quiz trivia in there, but the Metroid Prime remaster has recently come to light. You know, it came out last week. It was shadow dropped, and then the Nintendo Direct. It's got great reviews.
Looks great.
High 90s on Metacritic. The credits, though, have been criticized because rather than like have the credits of the original, it kind of is a bit of a footnote. It just says the Metroid Prime remaster was made by. You know, we'd like to thank the original
inspired by the work of
the original development team of Nintendo. And that was it. So it might as well have just said, thanks to those guys, but now here's us. That was it. It was one block, so no individual credits. So if you worked on Metroid Prime, your name is not in the credits. You are just part of the original team. So there we are. Just wanted to say that quickly.
Yeah.
Wow. Probably the less we say about that, the better, to be honest. I think that's a crazy thing. But hey.
A little bit of a pub quiz trivia for you as well about Warp Records is that they worked with us on the soundtrack for Grip. A lot of Warp Records artists featured in Grip. Amazing soundtrack.
Warp is the best label going, in my opinion.
Shall I burn quickly through the next one?
Yeah, please.
So this is really interesting. As you know, we do a lot of behind the scenes videos and content around games that are about to be released, and we document parts of the development journey. You know, we get a bit of deeper insight from the devs. Double Fine have gone to the next level on this. They have released a 22-hour, 32-part documentary chronicling the entire end-to-end development journey for Psychonauts 2. So this is warts and all, seeing the full, I think it's like a 7-year journey maybe. So it's from the concept of, you know, Psychonauts 2 all the way through to, hey, this is now out the door and in people's hands. So it's like a massive journey. I'm kind of intrigued to go and watch it when 22 hours become available to me. But I do like it when people of this caliber show off, you know, and I'm sure there's some classy, fancy edits in there, but when people do go to the limits to show the full extent of the warts and all journey behind games, because, you know, there's a lot of personal things that go on, and, you know, conversations that you won't normally see. The one, you know, something that we've been inspired by when we do ours as well was the series that I forget the name, but there was a developer documentary for the full development of Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice.
There was,
and that is so good because Ninja Theory, because that is just a full-on, hey, we're just going to drop updates via video here to show you the full journey, and it shows you them working on, hey, trying to figure out how do we get AAA quality in a smaller, lesser team, and all the compromises and everything that goes into getting it to where it needs to be. So very interested to check that out. You know, Psychonauts 2 was, again, a long time coming, almost as long as Dead Island 2.
It really was. I think my opinion on this is that it's incredibly useful as a resource. You know, in the sort of film and TV industry, there's film and media students in universities all around the world that are studying sort of the making of The Shining, and I wonder how many young filmmakers and stuff were inspired by the Lord of the Rings sort of special feature documentaries and all of that. And I think a lot of exactly. And I think a lot of dev diaries kind of act as a little bit of marketing for games. So to see this kind of entire 22-hour thing, there'll be a lot there. And hopefully it'll inspire a lot of people who maybe only see the flashier side of video games. So I'm hoping that this is going to be... And we know now that in universities, people are learning about video game, all aspects of it, coding, marketing, everything. You can even learn to be a product manager. Like, a lot of people don't even know what that is. So resources like this will probably be studied, I think. And I think this is stuff like this transparency is really, really cool. So you know, not a huge fan of Psychonauts. I'm very ambivalent towards it. I think it's cool, but yeah, I would watch this in a heartbeat. So there we are. That's good. That. And I think we've got time for one more quick one.
Yeah. Shall we finish off with the one after that?
Go on.
Okay, so this is we've spoke about this a few times, and the relationship, the partnership with EA and FIFA has come to an end. So, you know, the legacy of people buying FIFA every year is unfortunately also going to come to an end in terms as far as naming conventions go. So it's been reported that EA Sports are now looking to sign a deal with the Premier League, which is a smart move. And within that, the name that we might have to get used to, the replacement for FIFA, is going to be EAFC.
Yeah. Which will obviously just be shortened down to FC by everybody, won't it? It'll be FC.
FC.
So,
and something that isn't in here is, reportedly as well, that's meant to be a really foxy deal that's worth £500 million.
But in case you're wondering what's in it for this will be an interesting one if maybe you want to know. This deal is set to make the Premier League $95 million every year. That's how much it is. Because for anyone who doesn't know the numbers attached to that, 500 million seems like a lot of money. Every year, FIFA makes EA $1.6 billion every year. So in case you want to know what those numbers are looking like, that's what it's looking like. So it's going to be crazy because that's me and Aaron, we work in this. So everyone talks about it. Most people only buy 2 games a year, FIFA and then normally like Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty or whatever, that other game. But it's nearly always FIFA in one hand. If you're dual wielding, one of your hands is always FIFA. So it's going to be FC now, maybe a Premier League, a commercial marketing powerhouse behind like teams that are so big that when I go abroad and I'm in a taxi or something like that, they just say, "Where are you from?" And I say Wales, and they just name me players that play for Real Madrid or Manchester United or whatever.
Mate, I was in Thailand in the middle of a jungle at some random hut getting some chai yen, which is like basically like bubble tea.
Yeah.
And spoke a bit of Thai, and then the person was like, "Are you English?" In English, and I was like, "Yeah." And it's like, "Oh, let's talk about Michael Owen." Just in the middle of a jungle,
Wales is finest, apparently. Exactly. So that is exactly it. That's how big the Premier League is. That's how big.
Are you sure?
Funnily enough, Michael Owen is 8 miles away from me. I live in the middle of the woods
right now. You got Michael Owen tracker.
Well, he lives in the same house.
Like
exactly. Everyone in North Wales has one because there's only 6 of us. We just have to check in on each other. So that's how big the Premier League is. So
Michael Owen down the way.
He's my neighbour. He's 8 miles away, but he's my neighbour. That's an incredible potential there for EA.
Yeah.
So we're ending it on that. We're ending it on probably a bit of boring news for people who are into video games that aren't sporting related. But
no, it's interesting though, because
that's the biggest news of the week, I reckon.
It is big because it's kind of the end of an era as well. I think, as you mentioned, people have 2 games. One of them is usually FIFA. It's been called FIFA since way back when. Do you know what I mean? It's been this
since it started,
staple. And the game itself may not change. I mean, obviously there'll be
the Ultimate Team and all that stuff.
There'll be some things that will change and develop and so on. But it is it's the changing of the guard, I guess, in a way. It's going to be interesting to see how people take to it.
And hopefully you heard it here first. So on that cheery, crazy football mad note, we'll see you next week for some more information, some more news. Probably not all FIFA related, let's be honest with you. For episode 52, which, even though it's been more than a year, marks 1 year of podcasts. There we go. Oh, so a big congrats. So listen, bring your best clothes, dress up nice. We'll see you then. All right, nice one. Have a really lovely week, everybody. Goodbye for now.
Wired. Unplugged.